What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so Stephen A. Smith, of course, has been in the news a lot lately, because of this ongoing back and forth, beef he has with LeBron James. I don't think we need to go into detail about this. I mean, it's been rehashed and dissected and analyzed and discussed ad nauseum. We don't need to do that for that. But now, Stephen A. Smith has been put on blast by an MSNBC contributor for being, as he puts it, a megaphone for Maga propaganda. Now, of course, we all know that Stephen A. Smith, increasingly over the years, has delved more into the world of politics and social issues as far as discussions is concerned. He's appeared more on The View and on Bill Maher and on Fox News especially. His own podcast. He speaks more on politics. Matter of fact, he has it stipulated in his contract, his new $100 million contract, that he talks more about, that he has the ability, to talk more about his viewpoints on politics and social issues. And Stephen A. Smith, you could maybe point to his connections with rather powerful right-wing or right-leaning contributors, figures, or personalities. He's actually even showing up in polling, marginally, but still, any poll that shows him with 1%, 2%, 3% support for the Democratic presidential nomination, or polling that shows him getting any support for President of the United States. I don't know what that says for our nation, but it says something. And he points out that, look, Stephen A. Smith, has cultivated relationships with people like Bill O'Reilly, Ben Shapiro. He has interviewed, he has a friendship, everybody knows he has a friendship with, what's his name? Sean Hannity, who's very right-wing. He has had on his show, has interviewed people like Candace Owens and some others. I just can't think off the top of my head. Some other right-wing pundits. He has been friendly with them. And while Stephen A. Smith, look, before I give my opinion, he goes on to say that Stephen A. Smith basically uses his platform to espouse criticisms of the Democratic Party, while at the same time having a platform for these right-wing pundits to espouse their viewpoints. And usually Stephen A. Smith is very friendly with these individuals. And the criticism comes from many people from the Democratic Party who says, look, it's one thing to be a centrist. You know what I'm saying? Sure, you can criticize the Democratic Party, but Stephen A. Smith doesn't seem to show the same energy for the other side. He doesn't go on his platform and criticize the Republican Party in the same manner that he does the Democratic Party. And, there's a lot of truth to that. It's just from my perspective, listening to Stephen A. Smith over the last 15 years, I remember him going all the way back to his first stint with ESPN. And I've always noticed that he always seems to rub shoulders with those on the right. You know what I'm saying? So I've always been of the opinion that Stephen A. Smith has right-leaning sympathies, or he may be right of center and may have been just voting Democratic or whatever it is out of habit, but I don't think that he really is in tune with the Republican Party. And I understand that completely because I have the same viewpoints of the Democratic Party, right? But at the same time, I will also criticize the Republican Party for obvious reasons. Okay? Stephen A. Smith seems to be reluctant to do that. And, my personal opinion of Stephen A. Smith is that I think that he's a grifter. I've noticed that ever since the election, right? Ever since the presidential election, when Kamala Harris lost, when the Democrats lost the House and the Senate, the Republicans have a triumphant as far as government control, executive and legislative branches, both House, upper house and lower house. And when you consider the judicial branch, the Supreme Court, I think it's basically 7 conservatives and 2 liberals. Excuse me, 6 conservatives and 3 liberals, but it could potentially be as high as 7 conservatives and 2 liberals if another liberal judge retires. But anyway, he sees the numbers, he sees the trends, and I just find it interesting that ever since the election, he's been far more critical of the Democratic Party, and he does not seem to show the same energy for the Republicans. He doesn't. And I do think that he cultivates favor from the Republicans for a reason. Number one, I think Stephen A. Smith is looking to branch off into other areas. I don't think he fits with the mold of CNN. I don't think he fits in the mold or with the mold of MSNBC because that's not his political leanings. He doesn't lean that way. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't lean to the left. MSNBC, even though I think they're going to make some changes, they still are essentially a network that caters to the left. He's not a personality that caters to the left. He has made a lot of inroads in cultivating relationships with people on the right. That's why he will always, to me, you know what I'm saying? That's why I think that he will always be a critic of the left because it doesn't hurt him in his mind. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't give a damn if the black community doesn't agree with him. Because if we look at the way he moves, he's always on the wrong side of history with us anyway. He doesn't care about that. We already have heard what he said before. When he wakes up in the morning, he thinks about how he can help his bosses make more money and how he can get a little bit of that money himself. What does that sound like to you? You know what I'm saying? What type of brother that sound like to you? So he's tailor-made for these people. He's a grifter. He's a fucking grifter. And he knows that people like him, and he knows that it's much more profitable in this country to be an agent and provocateur for those people than to be a righteous brother. I'm not saying being on the left, but a righteous brother giving your honest opinion on issues, including race, where you may upset people who look like Bill O'Reilly or upset people who look like, Sean Hannity or whatever the case may be. That's why, it's just honestly, I'm just being 100% honest. When you look at the people who are black on YouTube, for instance, and those who speak politics, the most successful channels are those grifters who cater to the right. That's not an accident. That's just the way it is. The problem that I would have is I couldn't sit up here and say whatever I think my subscribers want me to say if I don't feel the same way. I just can't do that. I can't do that. I can't sit there and just blindly support Trump because on everything he does, everything his administration does, nothing bothers me. That doesn't even sound realistic. You don't even have elected Republicans that agree with everything Trump says. You know, but hey, with Stephen A. Smith, he's going to follow the money. He's going to follow the trends, and that's what he's doing. So, in conclusion, in my opinion, this MSNBC contributor has a valid point. Stephen A. Smith has, in many ways, become a megaphone via his platform for MAGA propaganda. Even though, and I see that he was on his podcast. Oh, well, I invited such and such, and I invited Kamala Harris, and I invited, Tim Walz, and I invited Gavin Newsom, and I invited. Okay, Stephen A., what was your biggest criticism of Kamala Harris and some of these other Democrats? You said that they need to sit down and be asked real questions, some tough questions. You'll ask us some tough questions. But whenever I see you talking, and I'm not saying they're political, they're running for office, but whenever I see you talking to right-wing pundits or contributors or personalities, whatever you want to call it, I don't see you going out your way, asking them tough questions. If anything, you're very effusive in your praise. You referred to Ben Shapiro as a brilliant man, has a brilliant mind, and Sean Hannity, I love the brother. He's a great brother. Bill O'Reilly, a great brother. It's just, I don't know, man. Of course, I'm gonna get some pushback from this, but that's just my opinion on this. Tell me what you guys think.